Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, great millstones. Salutation and much love to Yakim out there pushing out his word, true sincerity. So pretty much I just want to do a video on how the Latinos, the so-called Latinos, Native Americans, they were part of the original slaves. All right, one of the first couple slaves that happened during this transatlantic slave trade, when this devil Christopher Columbus made his voyage over to this side of the world. All right, which he was a red Hebrew Edomite. All right, he's an Edomite. He's a descendant of Esau. All right, so what this devil did, and the rest of his bandits and his gang, they got to pay for that. And their offspring, their children, all right, their whole family's got to pay for it. Your whole damn race, all you Edomites got to pay for it. All right, because how can I put it up? It's kind of a misconception that so-called Negroes were the only slaves. All right, you got when people think of slavery, which the reason they think of it, when they think of slavery, they think of the so-called Negroes, because one of the atrocities really got horrendous when the digital camera when the camera came out, and they were able to actually record it instead of just on paper, because Christopher Columbus, they recorded all his atrocities, but in a journal. Well, let me just go ahead and start reading this, and then we'll go into the scriptures. This is on the rapidcityjournal.com. It's titled Top 5 Atrocities Committed by Christopher Columbus, which that was the alias. His real name, I believe, was Cristobal Colon, okay, or Cristofo. But nonetheless, that's just an alias. He was not a Spaniard. He was actually an Italian, and he was a so-called Jew. All right, a false Jew. He's not really a Jew. He's an Amalekite from the nation of Edom. But let's go ahead and read it. It says, it's difficult to think of a more perverse hero than Christopher Columbus, the Italian who led Europe's first landing party in the Americas. From rape to pillage to flat-out murder, Columbus and his men were the first Europeans to commit horrendous atrocities against America's indigenous people. All right, who was America's indigenous people? The so-called Latinos and the Native Americans. All right, the indigenous people on this side of the earth, or the northern tribe, the northern kingdom of the children of Israel. All right. So it says the following list describes a sampling of reasons why Columbus was an awful person. But yeah, here it is. Here in America, they celebrate Columbus Day when this guy was a straight devil. What did it say? He raped, pillaged, murdered. Okay, he did all kind of atrocities. But here they celebrate him and give him a whole national holiday. Okay, that goes to show you the mentality of these founding fathers, as they call them. They're all a bunch of devils, and they continue to be to this day. All right, says Columbus was an awful person with information drawn from Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, which is a good book. It's a good read. I got the PDF file here. You can get it online for free. A People's History of the United States, 1492 present. Howard Zinn, A People's History of the United States, and then it's got some good points. Brothers get time, go through there and point out, some good examples of why we call this red Hebrew Edomite the devil. Okay, but I'll just be quoting it today. All right, but right now let's get a quick scripture before we go on, because like I said, people think that it was just the so-called Negroes that was enslaved, but this started long before the first so-called Negro was taken from the shores of Africa, the west coast of Africa. About 100 years prior to that, the first slave came from the Caribbean islands and was shipped back to Spain. Okay, and we'll get into that here in a bit. But let me bring this scripture out. This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 33. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel, which would be the northern kingdom, and the children of Judah, which would be the southern kingdom, were oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. So that's what happened when the so-called white man, the red Hebrew Edomite, took captive took us captive, beginning with Christopher Columbus. All right, all the way up to today. All right, they refused to let us go, and that we were oppressed together. All right, we were all oppressed by the same so-called white man, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American man. What do they have in common? The same oppressor. Okay, the same red devil put us in subjection. Okay. And then to this day, they want to act like they ain't do nothing. But let's see what this article says. It says in his journal, which is that book. It's pretty much part of it. His journal is quoted in the book. In that book, The People's History of the United States, 1492 to present. It says in his journal, Columbus didn't mince words about his intentions after meeting the Arawak natives in the Bahamas in 1492. He described the encounter thusly: They brought us parrots and balls of cotton and spears and many other things. They willingly traded everything they owned. All right, so what he describing them as a peaceful people, okay? Because Israel by nature is a peaceful people, okay? It says they willingly traded everything they owned. They were well built with good bodies and handsome features, which goes back to Jacob was a plain man. All right, you go into that word and it'll expound on that. It says they do not bear arms and do not know them, for I showed them a sword. They took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. So what? Because what? Jacob, Israel was not, they didn't need swords and guns, muskets. They were peaceful people. If they wanted to fight, they handle a situation, they'll stick them up, duke them out, or and then if you beat them up, you got to take care of them. They have no iron. Their spears are made of cane. So they had spears for hunting purposes. All right, get some fish, throw the spear in the water, catch an animal, a wild animal, whatever. But they weren't, maybe one, you always had some wicked niggas in Israel, so probably use the spears to stab each other. But going to show you how they were, Esau will call them primitive, but what it was is they were peaceful. Okay, they would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. So that's the mentality of this devil. All right, the so-called white man. He said, look how peaceful these people are. We could take them out with 50 people and put them into slavery. All right. It says Columbus would add, as soon as I arrived in the Indies, on the first island which I found, I took some of the natives by force in order that they might learn and might give me information of whatever there is in these parts. So what? He took some captive, man. Okay. And like today, we're still in being held as captive. Okay. Our oppressors never let us go. But then you have the descendants of these little devils, and now they want to act, they want to be the victims. They want to pull the victim card. Here it is, their ancestors, or their nation of people have done nothing but rape, rob, murder our nation, okay? Pillaged our land, okay? Raped our women, killed our infants, right? Oppressed us for over hundreds of years, and got such a head start that it would be impossible for our people to catch up. All right, but now they want to be all equal, and let's all get together and forget the past. The hell with that. The Lord required that which is past. All right, Zechariah 11:5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, "Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich," and their own shepherds pity them not. So here it is. You got these devils saying they're not guilty. All right, you got these different people saying, "Oh, now it's white. Everybody is coming up against the white man, and it's reverse racism, and why are we being targeted?" And all this nonsense because they want to play the victim card, because they want to make it seem like they didn't do nothing wrong, when deep down inside they hate you niggas and spics. All right, they hate you. They hate us with a perfect hatred. All right, as we hate them with a perfect hatred. Okay. But what, they want to act like they're just the nicest people on the planet. They've never done no wrong. But the track record, their history proves otherwise. Okay, in any court of law, this with all this evidence, all the witnesses, it would be an overwhelming case. It would be an open book or shut case. It would be over quickly. All right, and that's what the Lord's going to do. He's going to make a speedy riddance of you damn devils for the atrocities you committed against the apple of his eye. Yep. So read it and weep. All right, let's go on and say slavery and gold. Columbus had two goals in the Caribbean: to find gold and slaves. All right, he wasn't looking for India, okay? Contrary to popular belief, he was looking for the children of Israel, the lost 10 tribes. All right, he knew exactly where he was going. He knew that he was coming to this side of the world where no man had dwelt, and then the children of Israel had fled to. That's why he was coming for gold and for slaves. All right, Columbus returned home to Spain and came back to the Caribbean with 17 ships and 1,200 men. His men traveled from island to island, taking Indians captives. So what were they doing? They were taking slaves and rounding up slaves. In a large slave raid, Columbus and his men round up 1,500 Arawak men, women, and children and put them in pens. Right, they were putting them in cages and doing what with them? Shipping them back to Spain. Right, 1,500 of them. Those were the first ones to go to slavery on the slave ships. And they were taken to Spain. It says they selected what they considered the best natives and loaded them into the ships back to Spain. 200 died en route. After the survivors were sold as slaves in Spain, Columbus later wrote, "Let us, in the name of the Holy Trinity, go on sending all the slaves that can be sold." So look, they came in the you read the Hebrew Edomites came in the name of Christianity, the Holy Trinity, the Catholic Church, whatever you want to call it. You came with that same garbage that you push in today, that slave plantation slavery, Christianity, that Hebrew Edomite philosophy, okay, or deception, okay, and it's pushing out the same thing today. It hasn't changed. The image is the same. The old pale devil, Cesare Borgia, okay. And look, you came in the name of the Holy Trinity, the sweet Jesus, all right. And so that's why you have, you could have Northern Kingdom coming from Spain, or they could look like so-called Negroes or whatnot, because they had, and ultimately you had northern tribes getting sent back to Spain to be slaves, and then hundreds of years later, a lot of possibilities that it could have ended up, all right, as slaves. But nonetheless, blood. Well, let me just finish reading this a little bit, and then we'll go to the scriptures. Blood for gold, it says, but slaves weren't enough for Columbus or the Spanish monarchy. Columbus needed to bring back gold. All right, so it just goes into how he being a devil on Haiti, making these young men find gold when there wasn't even that many. All right, it says natives who didn't collect enough gold had their hands cut off. That's why we call you a devil. But it was an impossible task. There was virtually no gold around, only little dust in streams. Many natives fled and were consequently hunted down and killed by the Spaniards. So they're making them look for gold in Haiti when there was no gold. All right, and then that's why they ultimately moved to Puerto Rico and Cuba. In Puerto Rico, that's why they called it Rich Port. Porto, meaning port. Rico, meaning rich. Okay. Cruelty. If captivity and death weren't enough, Columbus and his men had a particular reputation for cruelty. There you go. You so-called white people, that's your nature. You're a cruel bastard. A cruel bastard. Okay. Bartolome de las Casas, a young priest who participated in the conquest of Cuba and wrote a history of the Indies. So look, you even had priests participating in the cruelty. It says describes the treatment of the natives. Endless testimonies prove the mild and pacific temperament of the natives, but our work was to exacerbate, ravage, kill, mangle, and destroy. See, look, that's the devil's MO right there. That's what he comes for. Anywhere he goes, that's what he's going to do. Exasperate, ravage, kill, mangle, and destroy. That's what the so-called white man's goal is: to destroy everything, to kill, to plunder, to pillage. All right. Small wonder then if they tried to kill one of us every now and then. See, so it's like they fight back. Now they fight back today. We step up and we call Esau out for his atrocities, and they're the victim. But even this guy, which was a devil, the priest a young priest, right? He admitted, he said, no wonder, it's not a small wonder if they try to kill us. Even he understood, well, the cruelty that we're putting on them is bound to lead to somebody attacking us, all right? The admiral, that goes to today, though, they holding themselves not guilty. All right, it says, the admiral, it is true, was blind as those who came after him, and he was so anxious to please the king that he committed irreparable crimes against the Indians. Las Casas describe how Spaniards rode on the backs of natives. So you got these damn devils just riding around, piggybacking on these Native Americans. That's why they call it piggyback. You got some pigs on your back. You know, that's where it comes from, piggyback. Getting piggyback rides, yeah, you got a red devil on you. It says how the Spaniards thought nothing of knifing Indians by 10s and 20s, and of cutting slices off them to test the sharpness of their blades. Las Casas added, 2 of the so-called Christians met 2 Indian boys one day, each carrying a parrot. They took the parrot and, for fun, beheaded the boys. Come on, man. That's the devil for you. That's the so-called white man. Edomite, the red Hebrew Edomite. That's what he does. Behead little boys for fun. Cut slices off you for fun. You know, have you carry him around for fun. Right? Genocide. Mass genocide. This is the real genocide, that, not the Holocaust. The Holocaust was a hoax. This was the real genocide against the children of Israel. All right, the whole nation. Facing extermination, Arawaks organized and attempted to fight back against the Spaniards. But they were little match against the armor, musket, swords, and horses of the Europeans. Because what? Esau's blessing is the sword. All right, you're not gonna beat Esau using his own, blessing. The Spaniards hung or burned Indians that they took captives. See, look, that's the devil, burying them and hanging them. See, so they didn't just do that to Negroes. They did that to the Native Americans, and the Spanish, or the so-called Latinos. By this point, the Arawaks began committing mass suicides. They fed cassava poison to their infants to save them from the Spanish. In 2 years, half of the 250,000 Indians on Haiti were dead, either through murder, mutilation, or suicide. By 1550, there were 500 Indians. By 1650, the Arawaks had been wiped out from the island. So no indigenous people were left in Haiti. And that's why the so-called Haitians, or from the tribe of Levi, they came in as slaves onto that land. All right, when they started bringing them in from Africa. All right, so let's get some scriptures now. Cause you so-called white people gotta pay for all that. Can't you go scot-free without paying for this? You can cry all you want, but someone's gotta have to pay. All right, Isaiah 14 and 21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. So the Lord said he prepared slaughter for the children. All right, so what this devil did, Cristobal Colon, what he did, guess what? His children got to pay for it, and his whole race of people. All right, everybody's got to pay for it now, thanks to what your forefathers did, which you are your forefathers in the reincarnation. All right, whether you want to believe it or not, you're still going to have to pay. Thus saith the Lord. Revelation 13. Revelation 13:9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And we read out of his own words that they were taking them captive. Okay? They were taking them captive. They send them back on slave ships. Okay? To be sold as slaves. Okay? Right there. So, you took us captive. Now see what the scriptures say. He that leads to captivity shall go into captivity. So now, you so-called white people, you red Hebrew Edomites, you got to go into slavery for what your people have done. Alright? He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. So, you slaughtered our people. You murdered us. You would cut us up for fun. You beheaded our children. Well, now you're going to be killed with the same sword. The same technique y'all used on us is going to be used upon you. All right? But no wicked, no sticking hot iron up somebody's asshole like Esau likes to do. Esau's a perverse devil, man. He'll do all kinds of wickedness and perverse things unto you while he tortures you. We're not going to do that. We're just going to exact the vengeance of the Lord upon you by putting you in captivity and killing you with the sword. All right? And ultimately, the Lord's going to make you pay for stealing his chosen. Okay? Plain and simple. Exodus 21:16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him. Did we not read that well, let's see it again. It says, Columbus returned home, starting right here. Columbus returned home to Spain and came back to the Caribbean with 17 ships, 1,200 men. His men traveled from island to island, taking captives. We just read in Revelation 13, he that leadeth to captivity shall go into captivity. So what nation of people led the indigenous people into captivity? You so-called white people, you red Hebrew Edomites. Look at the post. Those are a bunch of crackers, right? They're a bunch of devils, all right? A bunch of Edomites. All right, so they took us captives, they stole us, and then they sold us. It said after the survivors were sold as slaves in Spain, Columbus later wrote. All right, so they stole us, they sold us. It says, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And we are still currently in your hand, in the hand of our oppressors, the hand of our enemies, the hand of the thief. And you're getting caught red-handed, and it's being exposed and brought out to light through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem outside, the water of Yahweh Shem outside. All right, so now it's time to pay. You can't go scot-free. All right, the jig is up. It's time to pay. If you like they say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, because you got a rap sheet that following you everywhere you go now. You got blood that's pursuing you. All right, Jeremiah 30:16. We'll close out on this. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. Look, come on, man. The atrocities these devils did to our people, that was us getting devoured, man. Look, it said, and this is out of the priest's mouth. This is what their job was to do. But our work was to exasperate, ravage, kill, mangle, and destroy. That sounds like devouring us. Okay, you took our possessions, you took our riches, the gold, okay, you took us, most importantly. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. Now it's your turn to get devoured. And all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So guess what? Now it's your turn to go into captivity. It's your turn to get spoiled. All right, it's your turn to be the prey. And it's not just you so-called white people, you red Hebrew Edomites, it's the rest of you heathens as well. You so-called Africans, you Asians, all right, you Pacific Islanders, you all going to get it, all right? You're all going into captivity, each and every one of you. But the main one that did the atrocities to us is you so-called white people, you red Hebrew Edomites. And it's time to pay. Mawat la babal, mawat la adawamyam.